All right. Grace, mercy, and peace from him who is and was and is to come very soon. I'm certain. This is Rogue Diabetic, and welcome to the digital wilderness. All right, you guys. So today we're gonna I'm gonna do something a little bit different than what I have planned. I'll get to that, but I saw this Trump thing come on, and so I wanted to do this. Okay, we're gonna listen to it a little bit, and I'm gonna give you some of my commentary on it. Stop Biden's border bloodbath. Wow. Okay, so that's 3 Bs, and there's something like... Well, actually, it's 4 Bs, right? So that would be the 33 and the 33. I don't know. There's something, or if it's just 3 Bs, the 333. But anyway, 3 is one of their magic numbers, and there's some sort of he's making some sort of occultic reference. I never got into the numerology of all of this, but I got into it enough that I could see it. This is there's some sort of numerological significance to 88 and 22. 8 is the sideways infinity sign. Okay, if you turn the 8 on its side, it's the infinity sign. And I don't know what the deal is with 22. But there's some sort of significance to that too. And they're so they talk to each other in code. I don't understand it all 100%. But that's my first observation. And now I'm spiraling. But anyway, I was listening to a little bit of this. Not a lot, but I've been to several of these, and it's the same thing. I've watched several more on, Right Side Broadcasting Network or some other plays, and it's the same talking points, and it's the same ridiculous talking points. Okay, first of all, there's the Bidenflation thing. Is one of the main things that they talk about. Because since the beginning of the Biden administration, the price of everything is almost doubled. Okay? And actually, that's not entirely true. It's more like at the beginning of the pandemic. Since the beginning of the pandemic. Everything has tripled. Everything has doubled. Everything. Well, almost double. There's some things that haven't doubled.
What was the line like this morning when you voted?
Alcohol hasn't
It was right about at the door, I think. And then
at the polling where you voting.
Oh, I'm in a small town. I was number 27, and it was open maybe 20 minutes when I got there only.
You voted. Count. How you doing?
I voted.
You voted as well. Great. I love it. What would you want President Trump to do day one in office?
Well, for one thing, I heard him say close at the border, stop this border stuff we got going on. We've got over the percentage, if you look at 10 million people, if you looked at just 2% of those being terrorists, How many would that be? I mean...
Well, you see a lot of young military-age men coming across the border.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like that one...
Okay, you guys. See, this is one of those things. This is another one of those things. This whole idea that Trump shut the border down and that the border was under control when he left office is nonsense. Okay, it was never under control. He never finished the wall. Mexico didn't pay. Whatever the soldiers that Mexico paid for, that actually we've paid for because we give Mexico foreign aid. I mean, it was so retarded. I mean, because Trump in his speech is like, I had the border shut down so good that I couldn't use it as I couldn't talk about it. Well, what do you mean you couldn't talk about it? You can talk about it. Can't you talk about whatever you want to talk about? So now it's now there's some flunky on your staff that's telling you what you can and can't talk about. He's like, nobody cares because I fixed it so good. And that's not true. Okay? So if you go all the way back to 2016, I mean, it's been like this has been like this, and it's been getting worse and worse and worse and worse. I mean, we haven't had that border under control since like forever. Now. It's harder to get into Mexico, but it's easy to get in. It's easy to get from Mexico to the United States, but it's like. But you used to be able to like. It used to be a wide open border, pretty much. Admittedly. And then after 9/11, they started to. You had to have like instead of being able to just show your driver's license to the border guy to get in and out, and you couldn't just stay down there indefinitely. But you could go down there, stay for 30 days or 2 weeks at least. And all you had to do is have identification. Government issued ID. You didn't need a passport. You didn't need a visa. I probably still don't. But anyway, if you fast forward all the way to if you fast forward like if you go back to the 80s when Reagan, another fake conservative, signed that amnesty bill, where there are basically all these illegal immigrants that were in the United States from Mexico. And instead of like shutting down the border and then granting those people amnesty, he just granted those people blanket amnesty, didn't do anything about border security. Right? He signed, I mean, yeah, it got passed by a Democrat Senate and House, but Reagan was the one that signed it. So this idea that it was all the Democrats' fault is wrong. But then basically that continued to go on and on and on and on, all the way up until 2016. And, and throughout the Obama administration, it kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse because Obama was just like basically, via executive order, granting these people amnesty. They were in the country illegally when they shouldn't have been when that isn't the way it should have worked. With the DACA and so forth. So Trump gets in. He says he's gonna build a wall, which makes sense. Make Mexico pay for the wall, and then once that was accomplished, once the wall was finished, and the border was secured, then we were gonna talk about who stayed and who went and under what conditions. Okay, obviously there were some people there that were brought there as infants and, very young, like under 12 years old. That probably could have, that we could have let stay. And even, created some sort of pathway to citizenship for those people. Okay, and we also might have been able to, make it even broader than that to include the adults that broke the law, as long as that was the only thing that they'd ever been convicted of. As long as they weren't as long as they hadn't committed any other crimes, especially while they were in the United States, there were some things that we could have done to to accommodate some of those people at least. But we could have definitely stopped the people from coming across the border and got the people back and got the worst ones out. Okay, that's what we were looking for. That's what we thought we were being sold. That's what we bought. Okay, as a Trump supporter back in 2016. Okay, that's not what Trump did. In fact, the border continued to get worse. The liberals, I mean, it's the liberals who didn't want to never met a dollar that they didn't want to spend, are also money. What about the money? Money. We need money. We need money for us, and then not for the border. Right? So, he got pushed back there, but he was still, it was in the first 2 years, he controlled the House, he controlled the Senate. Okay, they got some of the wall, they got some border barrier built, but the border it just created bottlenecks is all. It just made it it almost left a trail for these people to follow and know where to go. Because they built sections of it and not all one contiguous. Instead of starting in Baja and then moving through the rest of California and then Arizona and then Texas, or working both sides and working in, because there is a big chunk of it in Texas that's impassable. But instead of doing it like that, they just like started putting it up piecemeal, and it wasn't really very effective at stopping any of the illegal immigration. Then on top of that, these migrant caravans started. Okay, and these migrant caravans, there's like, when was the first time you ever heard of a migrant caravan? I mean, I don't know. I kind of think that like I really don't remember anything before. I don't remember this turn of phrase being used before 2018. Now, discussion of illegal immigration typically claim that there have been many caravans. Those that antedate or are before 2017 were small affairs that did not move as a group to the U.S. border. Okay, the Stations of the Cross migrant caravan have been held in southern Mexico for at least 5 years. They began as short processions of migrants, some dressed in biblical garb and carrying crosses, as an Easter protest against the kidnappings, extortions, beatings, and killings suffered by many Central American migrants as they crossed Mexico. Okay. But basically, the 2017 caravan, which was Trump's first year in office, started to form in the. This is weird. Okay, but basically, there isn't any sort of migrant caravan like the ones that you hear about now until 2018. And then in late 2018, during the election cycle, I can remember this. That's when they had like the three ring circus on full display. They had the Kavanaugh hearings. They had these migrant caravans, and and then Trump made a half-assed attempt to try to stop it, but the National Guard people that they put down there couldn't do anything. They basically just had to sit there and watch them cross. Okay, so Trump, for all his talk, Trump didn't do anything to stop the border. There was a late 2020 caravan, which would have been like, okay. So, and this is another thing. Okay, Another thing that Trump claims is that no, I shut down the border. Okay, but the fact of the matter is the only border he left open was the Mexican border. That's the only border he didn't shut down. So we have a late 2020 caravan. So during COVID, when we're not supposed to be when there's prohibitions on Americans to travel overseas or to travel to Canada or to travel to China or wherever, when there's all these rules, restrictions on travel abroad, but from our own government to different places, and then we're not letting people in from Europe, we're not letting people in from Canada. It's reciprocal. We're not. The first place we stopped letting people in from was China. Okay, so there was there was all these restrictions on travel between America and every other fucking country in the world, but no restrictions on but there's still the pouring across the border, right? And the liberals, I mean, the liberals are so insufferably stupid. I mean, they're like, racism. It was racism to shut down the Chinese border. But then it was racism to want to shut down to not shut down the Mexican border. I mean, it was just yeah, I mean, totally inconsistent. Their whole stance on it. But anyway, Trump just did nothing. Trump and the Republicans did nothing. Now they lost control of the Senate. They lost control of the House in 2018. And then obviously Trump lost. I mean, whether he lost or not is lost to ages. We'll never really know whether. I mean, elections are a sham anyway. They're all a sham. But in fact, he did. He's not the president anymore. Whether you think that Biden cheated or not, it doesn't matter. He's not the president, and so the Republicans, when they had the shit chance to do something about this, did nothing, and then they shut the country down. They shut off travel to the rest of the world, to and from the rest of the world, but they left the Republicans and the Democrats continued to leave the border with Mexico wide open. So this whole idea that Trump is gonna do anything about Mexico, do anything about the migration, which has gotten even worse under Biden, there isn't any doubt. Now we're being invaded, and we are being invaded across that border. It is an invasion on the border. Okay, a lot of the people that are crossing over are Chinese. It's not just third world immigrants that are looking for a better life. It's Chinese immigrants. Except they're not immigrants. They're there to they nobody really knows what they're up to. But they're crossing over the border, and many of us suspect that it's an actual invasion. It's an infiltration. And one day we're gonna wake up. In the one morning we're gonna wake up and there's gonna be Chinese, soldiers in the street wearing blue helmets. There's gonna be Chinamen wearing blue helmets, under the supervision of some sort of or under the command of some sort of international organization like the UN or World Health Organization or WEF or a combination. And they're going to be marching through the streets in our own country. Okay, and that's how the takeover is going to happen. I don't know. I think it's entirely plausible. So, and the thing about it is they're ready to pull the trigger. So even if Trump we're actually planning on doing anything. Even if Trump were actually planning on doing anything to shut the country down or to shut illegal immigration down at the southern border, it's gonna be too late. Okay. Now, whether or not, there's a lot of people that speculate that a bunch of these illegal immigrants will be allowed to vote in the election, and that'll tip it to Biden. Maybe, maybe not. They can say whatever they want to say about who voted and who didn't, and how many votes who got, which candidate got. Okay, they don't actually need these illegal immigrants to show up at the polls to tip the election whichever way they want it to. But that would be assuming that we even get to an election. Okay, because they're ready to pull the trigger on this. Trump is not going to save America. He's not even. That's not what he's up to. That's not his intent. Okay, and you better wake up pretty fast because, there's nothing we can do to stop this anymore. There's nothing we can do to stop. America is essentially fallen. It's just right now. It's gotten to the point where it's just kind of it's an eventuality. It's academic. It's gonna happen. It hasn't maybe officially there's still some pretense that America is a sovereign country, but it isn't really. And pretty soon, even the pretense of that is going to be stripped away. So the only answer to any of this is, and the good thing about this is that when this happens, when this finally does come into full relief, into full view, you're gonna have a choice. You can either follow the beast, or you can turn to Jesus Christ for the forgiveness of your sins. That's the only salvation that's possible at this time. There's no salvation for the United States as a country. God's judgment is upon her, and it's going to be a matter of time. So, but that doesn't mean that you individually still can't turn to Jesus for the forgiveness of your sins. He died. He came down from heaven, lived as a man, died on the cross, rose again, thus vindicating his claims to be God. And if you believe that and are baptized, you get to go to heaven. If you don't, you're damned. So share, subscribe, click the notification bell Tell me what you think in the comments. I'm gonna do a couple more of these things because I'm gonna turn this back on, and another person is gonna be like inflation or one of these other like red herring / straw man arguments that Trump and the other Republicans use to bash Democrats while covering up their own complicity with the destruction of America. So I'm out.